For October 16th, 2023 to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fry?
Here.
Mr. Hanson?
Here.
Mr. Hanem?
Here.
Mr. McCann?
Here.
Mr. Richardson?
Here.
Ms. Stout?
Ms. Dow is under the weather and is excused.
Mrs. Westfall?
She is expected to arrive shortly. There are 5 members of City Council present at this time, so a quorum does exist. A quorum is a majority of the 7 members of City Council. 5 out of 7 is enough, and here's Mrs. Westfall arriving now. And we welcome all of you to our City Council chamber, and I would invite Scout Troop 158 to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Scouts. Agenda item 3 is additions to the agenda. As agenda item 3A, I would like to order or add the introduction of the new executive director of the Sylvania Prevention Alliance, Tori Daggett, to come up and introduce herself in a minute, not quite yet. And as 3B, I'd like to give you a sister city report. Mr. Fry, do you have any additions to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to schedule another Finance Committee meeting.
All right, we'll put that as 10A, schedule Finance Committee. Any other additions from members of City Council?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Hanem.
Yeah, I'd like to schedule a zoning and annexation committee meeting.
Okay. We'll make that 10B. Any other additions from members of City Council? Hearing none. Mr. Sanford, any changes?
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Schroyer.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Captain, any changes?
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Aller.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
And Mrs. Brining.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, with that, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved. Second.
It's moved and seconded to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and we stand approved for our meeting this evening. Agenda item 4 is approval of the meeting minutes from our last meeting. All right, let's move those additions down to, well, we'll go to those right now before the approval of the meeting minutes. So I invite Tori to come up to the podium. Hi.
I'm Tori Daggett, Executive Director of the Sylvania Prevention Alliance, and I'll keep this short. I think it's probably about 5 minutes. But wanted to first off thank the staff and board members of Sylvania Community or Sylvania Prevention Alliance. Would like to thank you for your time and your continued support of all of our youth groups, our youth activities, our parent education, and our community events and services throughout the years. With your contributions do allow us to continue our work with our youth in our community. I do not yet have the totals for our most recent fiscal year tally, but just to give you an idea, our last fiscal year, we provided 95 services with 8,719 hours of service to over 64,885 community contacts. And we are a small but very mighty staff. As we all know, the need for youth prevention has grown in the last couple of years, and we have expanded our services to meet the current needs. However, the increase in services and programming has increased our need for more funding. We are currently doing more with less man or woman hours. We have spent countless hours writing grants and have continued our fundraising. Although our golf scramble fundraiser was not as profitable this year, we have secured funds to help with our operating budget. However, this year, we are in an immediate need situation, and that is why I'm here talking with you. We have one of our community services that we are asking for your partnership in helping us to continue to keep our youth and community safe. For years, we have provided the Sylvania and the surrounding areas with our ID checker program. If you've been to an event, a concert, festival in our area, odds are you have handed over your driver's license to be scanned by one of our ID checkers upon entry. Not only does the service allow business, local businesses and events the convenience of staying within state laws, but it also creates a safer environment for our community members and businesses. Our ID checkers are well used. There are many times throughout the summer that they are all checked out. And they are starting to become old due to wear and tear and technology. We started out with 20, just currently retired 3. And due to the new technology with the new driver's license, we are going to have to retire all of them in the very near future. Our vision for the upcoming year had included an event for youth and families that we hope to partner with our community members to make it a true celebration of the Sylvania area. Because research shows the more ties and connections youth have to their community, the better they perform in school and the less at-risk behaviors. But however, since we are starting to retire our ID checkers, the need to either replace the existing, we will definitely need to replace all 20 in the near future. We're looking at having to let go of our community event and also cut back our checker ID program. The new ID checkers that fit our needs are roughly $700 each for a total cost of $14,000. We are asking you to consider to making an investment of $14,000 above and beyond our current funding. Just for an idea, I don't know how old the current ID checkers are, but I know they're at least 10 years old, so this investment will continue to help keep our Sylvania youth and our community healthy and safe for many years to come. Just thank you very much from the entire Sylvania Prevention Alliance staff and our board members. We really appreciate your time and your consideration.
All right, thank you.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
We can talk about that when we get to discussions about the budget, or you can make the request to the president of council if you want.
Thank you.
As added agenda item 3B, a sister city report. As I'm sure all of you know, we did have our sister city guests in town over the weekend. Councilman Hanson attended with me. We had 25 members of the Woodstock Sister City Commission and their art commission attend a opening for an international art display over at the Lawrence University Art Center on Silica Drive. We had some television in regards to that, and there was awards given out by an art jury to both the Canadian and the American representatives who displayed art at that. It was a really nice event. Mr. Hanson, feel free to jump in anytime if I'm not giving it all that I should. We then went over to the Sister City Dinner, which was at the Sylvania Masonic Lodge on Holland-Sylvania Road. Had a good Sister City dinner and a very good discussion of the re-strengthening of our Sister City bonds following the problems we had with the pandemic, and we couldn't cross the international boundary for over a year. They are very much back on it. Mayor Jerry Accioni was here, and his wife Sarah was with us for the weekend. I think we had a wonderful time. We did meet up for the parade the next day. You may have, I know several of you, I waved to you in the parade. They had several people in the parade as well. Just had a wonderful time for the weekend, and you might have noticed the Sisters of St. Francis also were in the parade. I've never seen them in the parade before. Sister Nancy talked to me ahead of time. They purchased 2 6-person golf carts, and they were in the parade. I'm sure, Sharon, you saw them. I posted them on the city's Facebook and my Facebook. That was very special. They were very excited to be in the parade. And you'll find sitting in front of you at your council places tonight, I believe, an invitation from Ann Ash, that's the mayor's secretary up in Woodstock.
Not yet.
Oh, they don't have it yet?
No, I just gave those to you for
Okay.
anybody that would like the information.
I've got them here. If you're interested, let's pass a couple each way. Go the other way. Their Santa Claus parade is on November 18th. That's a Saturday night. It's the third Saturday night in November. You're welcome to go up on the 17th, though I normally don't. They're going to be back to a nighttime Santa Claus parade up there. They just got the parade restarted last year, and it was on a Sunday afternoon last year, but they're back to the nighttime parade. It is very satisfying to go up there. I'm sure they'll have a Sister City dinner as well, following the parade on Saturday night, spend the night Saturday night, and come on back on Sunday. If you're interested in attending, please let Laura know. As clerk of council, she's going to coordinate our reservations. Reservations are always tight in the community on that weekend because it's not just their Santa Claus parade, they also have hockey tournaments. And I can tell you, last year when I was up there, hockey practice was happening in the hallway outside my room. So I encourage you to go if you have time and interest. Marcus, would you like to add anything?
Well, I think you summarized it very well. The one thing I do want to add, it was great to see Sister City, Sylvania Arts, and Lord's University, all collaborating together. It wasn't just one function putting on an art show. It was really all of them working together. So I thought that was really neat to see.
It was the Lord's University Art Department and their art commission that put this together. The Canadian art that was displayed, it was their second show of that. They had it displayed over in London, England earlier in the year at the Canadian Embassy. They brought it back and then shipped it down here to Sylvania, and it was in the Canticle Center on display with other competing artwork from the Sylvania area. And there were some very nice pieces from both countries involved. And Lord's University made a big difference. Lord's is definitely on top of our sister city relationship. The new university president, William Bissett, was in attendance and participated in the events as well. Okay. Let's move on then to agenda item 4, which is approval of the meeting minutes from our last council meeting on October the 2nd. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move approval of the meeting minutes from the council meeting of October 2nd, 2023 as submitted.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for the approval of the meeting minutes from our October 2nd meeting as submitted. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and those meeting minutes are approved. Agenda item 5 is proposed ordinance 84, 2023. We have talked about the need to find a new green yard waste drop-off site, even though our contract with Toledo Memorial Park extends to next August, the end of August. Service director is concerned about cleanup of that site and looked for a new site for leaf drop-off this year. Kevin, I don't know if you want to come around or talk about it from there, but he has gotten competing quotes from some of the green yard waste recyclers in town. We're talking with A&J Landscaping, even though that's not the name in here. They have a different name for who's actually accepting it, but that's where it's going. This follows a similar pattern for our other recycling in town. When we first started materials recycling in town, the city had to do it itself. There was no private contractor that could do it. We set up our own vehicles to pick it up. They were called pack rats, and we had what was called a clean MRF over on the site of Silica Cement, Medusa Cement, at the southwest corner of Centennial and Sylvania Avenue. And we worked there for several years, but then it became apparent that private contractors were entering the marketplace and could do it more efficiently than we could do it with city employees. So we switched out of that. Councilman Haddad kind of led that. He and I went on a field trip to make sure that the materials were being recycled, and it made it easier for our residents to have our materials go to a dirty MRF, which means all the materials are put together in one container rather than one for glass, one for paper, one for aluminum, that sort of a thing. And so we made that transition. We are still going to pick up our own green yard waste ourselves, but it appears it will be less expensive, or certainly no more expensive, for us to take it to a private yard where they will do the the composting rather than us do it with our own city employees. Our tub grinder was also reaching the end of its life. Kevin has kept it going with Band-Aids and duct tape here for a while, and that's like an $80,000, is that right? Or is it more than that?
$1 million.
480.
Another, about 800.
$800,000. Well, that's hard to amortize very quickly, so we're gonna take a shot at this. It will not increase our delivery times because it's gonna go to A&J right there on Sylvania Avenue, west of King, right at 10 Mile Creek. And we will not need to man the composting field anymore or hire a firm to come in and turn the composting piles, the windrows. So Kevin, I probably said everything. Correct what I said. That was to give you time to get to the podium.
Yes, the mayor has covered it pretty well. If there are any questions, I would point out that this is basically a one-year agreement. It actually expires in August 31st of next year. But it's basically a one-year agreement. When we were notified of the changes at the existing compost facility, the immediate need for this year's leaf collection was the first thing that we needed to address. We didn't want to take that material up to that compost site, knowing full well that by August of next year we were going to have to move the material again. So we wanted to come up with another site that was acceptable to be able to take the material and not have to double handle it. We did request proposals from 3 different local contractors. This was the lowest and best proposal that we received. We are still in discussions with them. I may come back to you before too long, within a couple months, and ask you to extend this contract so that we can decide what we're going to do for a long-term operation. Whether we continue to operate the compost or, as the mayor has indicated, these costs may well be less than what we have had in the operation to date, and we'll continue to have in the operation with the replacement of equipment. So, but for right now, we're in front of you for just a one-year agreement that will expire through August. And we will also be taking the weekly green yard waste collections that our crews perform. Will also be going to this site. It is at A&J Landscaping. The contract is just with I'm not sure if A&J is a subsidiary or if Sylvania Compost is a subsidiary, but it's the same business.
The company name is Sylvania Compost and Recycling LLC.
That's correct.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Fry.
couple questions, Kevin. The material that's at the existing site, obviously I have no issue with this, but the materials that are at the existing site, are they included in this? How are we handling those materials over the next 12 months or whatever?
That's one of the things that I may be coming back to you within a couple months.
Okay, fair enough.
They have made an offer to basically accept that material for an extended contract. So that's one of the things that's kind of in that.
To say it a different way, it has value. They're willing to come and get it with their labor during their down months through the winter and extend our recycling contract with them at no cost?
No.
Would be the same 50,000.
Same $50,000 a year, but they will come and clean the site for us
They will,
Yes.
yeah.
for the value of the goods.
Hard to go broke on that. So, also in the 5-year budget forecast, I saw a grinding machine for 900 and something. Is that what we're avoiding for this?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
yes.
50 grand a year, well, not everybody here, but I will certainly not care by the time we get done paying off
Takes a long time to
$900,000.
advertise it. We also have to have the labor to
Plus
run it.
labor, yeah, absolutely.
This has been something that's kind of been in the offing for a little while.
Okay.
We've known that once the equipment went, that was gonna be the time to really take a serious look at it. We're there. We will have some other costs up there. We do have to clean up the site. We have to return the site to its existing condition prior to our arrival and things of that nature. But those are things we'll be working through over the next year.
So what's the value of an old antiquated grinding machine in gov deals?
I don't know for sure on gov deals, but I am told from all three companies that we dealt with that it will pull more than we think that it will pull.
Great, even better.
So, yeah. So I have not priced them out, but it's, gov deals never ceases to amaze me.
Well, if a new one's 900 bills, you know, one that's still operable, even if it's on its last legs, has got some significant value, I would think.
One contractor told me that he says you'll get 33 to 50% of what the new one.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Aller, as with our current recycling and refuse, we'll be seeking a long-term contract eventually.
Yes.
And will we have a full accounting cost analysis included in that with what we're doing and what we want to do?
Yes. Yeah, that will be taking a look. The, my immediate need, because of the timing of the notice, was to get through this year's refund. And with this agreement, we will accomplish that. And then, by the time I come back to you again, I should have the final answer on, you know, this is the analysis of continue to operate a site. Another option that we're taking a look at is the township has talked to us from time to time about cooperating the site and that kind of, those kind of things. So we're working through those calculations, but, you know, when you talk a $900,000 piece of equipment versus $50,000 a year, that's not real hard math.
No. I like that math.
Mr. Eller, the way this is written, it says either party may terminate with a 6-month notice. They gave us a 1-year notice. And are we terminating with them, or will we have 2 leases during the same time period?
No, yeah, we are not terminating, we are operating as though, they have the lease through, we have the lease with them through August 31st of next year.
But the new
You're talking
facility,
about the TMP lease?
yes.
Okay, yes. That we're operating, that we have to be off of that site by next August. They've given us.
The original
they've given us
agreement
more
said a
time.
6-month termination. They gave us a 1-year notice.
So, but we will be leasing the new facility while still maintaining the,
No, we're not
We're not
leasing a new
leasing.
facility. We are contracting to drop our materials off to their facility for,
gotcha, okay.
we
Every
lose,
single material.
we lose ownership of the materials. We don't lease the facility. We are just paying to drop it off there.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Eller, they're giving us until August to clean up and get out.
That's correct.
That's,
All right, there's no further questions. We do have ordinance number 84, 2023. Mr. Hanson, I got this for you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 84-2023, accepting the proposal of Sylvania Compost and Recycling LLC to provide green yard waste drop-off site, appropriating funds therefore in an amount not to exceed $50,000. I move for passage of ordinance number 84-2023 as an emergency measure.
second.
It has been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 84, 2023 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 84, 2023 is enacted as an emergency measure. Thank you. We're up to agenda item 6, which is proposed ordinance 85, 2023. This is ordered legislation to contract for 2 years for the installation and monitoring of 15 license plate reader cameras with the Flock Group Incorporated. Captain or Mrs. Brining, any comments? We were waiting for answers. That's why it took us a second council meeting to get to this.
That's correct, Mayor. I just wanted to point out that the primary, the most important, I think, proposed revision we had to the contract was to ask Flock to agree to secure performance bond for the removal of the hardware that's installed in the city, and they did agree to do that. So that is the most material change, I think, that was made to the agreement. And so I think we're at a place now to recommend its approval.
All right, if there's no further questions, Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce by title only ordinance number 85, 2023, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to enter into an agreement with Flock Group Incorporated for 15 license plate reader cameras and associated software, appropriating funds therefore in the amount of $97,250. I move passage of ordinance number 85, 2023 as an emergency measure.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 85, 2023 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Frye?
Yes.
Mr. Hanson?
Yes.
Mr. Hanem?
Yes.
Mr. McCann?
Yes.
Mr. Richardson?
No.
Mrs. Westfall?
Yes.
The vote is 5 yes and 1 no, so it does pass as an emergency measure. And is enacted as an emergency measure. I want to let you know, I know it's been covered before, but I was down at Channel 11 for a different issue today, and they interviewed me on this issue for tonight. And their anchor person, Jeff Smith, asked me, are these going to be used as speed cameras? And I gave him a very firm no. That's not what they're for. They're not measuring speed. So they're not speed cameras. And I talked about how people thought the queuing cameras in intersections were being used for speeding or something like that as well, or red light cameras. These only take a picture of the back of the car. It does not take a picture of who's driving, and it is only for license plate recognition, so we can identify vehicles coming or going into the community for either known vehicles used in a crime, or if we have an Amber Alert, or if we have somebody that is lost and their relatives are searching for them or something like that. These are public service cameras, and don't let anybody think that we're using them as speed cameras or Big Brother cameras. It's only license plates. Okay. With that, I think we can move on to agenda item 7. This is the pedestrian hybrid beacon safety study. Mr. Aller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had reached out to the schools to talk to them about their opinions and possible support of the change from the rapid flashing beacons that we currently have at several locations. And they were highly in favor of such a project. And in subsequent conversations with them, they asked us to include Southview High School in the project as well. That has a rapid flash beacon on Sylvania Avenue. We're talking with the ODOT program folks that are in charge of the systemic safety study program. They were also in support of adding Southview High School to the project. And so we reached out to the consultant for what an amendment to include that site in the project as well. They have returned with a proposal in the amount of $9,200 to add that site. That would increase the total cost of the study from $24,000 to $33,200. And we recommend that we approve this amendment. And then our 4 sites that will be included will be Highland Elementary, Sylvan Elementary, McCord Junior High School, and Southview High School.
And the Sylvan Elementary site is the one that crosses McCord Road north of the McCord Junior High School.
Correct, yes, Mr. Mayor.
Right. Okay, so this is just a modification to the existing study contract.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Fry.
The extra amount, generally I don't have any issue including Southview. Just when I look at the sites that are already there, and the math doesn't work for me, Kevin. So Is that just because it's Sylvania and there's a lot more traffic on Sylvania than there is on some of the other roads that we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, some of the survey work that's gonna be required.
right. This is Sylvania Avenue, it's tons of traffic. Yeah, got it.
And getting worse.
Yes, understood.
All right. We do have ordinance 86, 2023 to amend this existing contract. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce ordinance number 86, 2023 by title only, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to approve the amendment to the city's agreement with DGL Consulting Engineers LLC to include Southview High School in the pedestrian hybrid beacon safety study project, increasing the proposal amount by $9,200, appropriating funds therefore, and I would move passage as an emergency measure.
Second.
Been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 86, 2023 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 86, 2023 is enacted as an emergency measure. Before we move on, Mr. Allard, will you give us an update on the school flasher signs? I see that the new foundations have now been installed.
Yeah, the initial completion date for that project, I'd have to go back, but I think we actually awarded that project in February of '23. And the initial completion date was August 15th, obviously to have them ready by school. You've heard me say it before, steel poles. It was just, we waited and we waited and we waited. And finally, about a week and a half ago, the poles came in and the contractor was able to get started. So we're behind all because of those poles. As Mary indicated, they're getting foundation work done and everything this week. And then we'll be working quickly to try to get everything finished up before the bad weather sets in. So, yeah, that project is taking much longer than we or the contractor.
And is a supply chain issue.
Yep, supply chain.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there any relief for this pole issue in the future? What are you reading about?
None that we see on the horizon. It's where many entities are awarding project, or bidding and awarding projects 6 months earlier than they originally planned, just because of the pole issue. Or modifying construction schedules and knowing that the poles aren't gonna be here until 6 months out.
Just as a follow-on, since we're looking at, I'm assuming poles in the downtown footprint, should we be considering that? Or are you considering that? Maybe a better question.
If we do get into poles, we're taking a look at possibly bidding the poles out separately. You can do that. It's a little tougher to do on ODOT projects just because of ODOT's restrictions.
Yep.
But, we won't have ODOT involved in this one, so we're taking a look at possibly bidding those out separately and getting those going our way.
Okay. Because the last thing you want to do is have all this other cool stuff and then come back a year later and say, hey, by the way, the poles just showed up. Right.
Monroe and Silica right out here is another prime example. Everything, right now we're anticipating for the pavement to be placed, final pavement to be placed November 3rd to November 6th, somewhere in that time frame. We won't have the poles. The signals are still going to be temporary signals for another month probably.
Okay.
All right, let's move on to agenda item number 8. This is the Arun Park River Trail Stream Restoration Phase 2. Mr. Allard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The original project started in advance downstream of the what I'll call the Somo Bridge, the crossing that is right there at the north branch of 10 Mile and Somo. And taking a look at some things that are occurring on that bridge, we're starting to see bank scour and erosion around the foundations of that bridge. And so we'd like to extend the limits of this second phase to include that bridge area so that we can do some more bank stabilization and be able to protect that bridge a little more than what we currently have. And taking a look at that, the project cost would increase by about $182,669.18, just estimated. And that would take the total cost of the project from $702,000 to approximately $884,669.18. We believe this additional work is recommended and almost to the point of being necessary in order to protect that bridge. We have seen some cost increases in the time frame. 2 years ago is when we started looking at this project to now. So that's some of it, but it's primarily that additional work that we think we need at the bridge. So we do recommend moving forward. I will let you know that we have reached out to ODNR, who's reached out to EPA, who has reached out to US EPA, and we are hopeful. We've asked for half of this additional cost and additional grant funding. The initial grant, we received the maximum amount at $600,000, but all entities are leading us to believe that they are going to honor our request, and then we should get about 50% of this back in additional grant money. So the net cost to us will be, approximately $90,000. But we do recommend moving forward with the work and would ask for approval.
Kevin, are certain applications required for this additional funding, or is this just
It'll be an amendment to the, right now.
to the original agreement?
Yeah, right
Got
now
it.
it's an informal request, so to
Okay.
speak, and kind of going through the channels. I don't know if we'll have to bring something back to council to amend that agreement or how EPA and all that is going to do it.
Okay.
EPA will tell us.
Yeah, the EPA will tell us, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Any questions for Mr. Aller? Hearing none, we do have proposed ordinance 87, 2023. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to introduce by title only ordinance number 87-2023, authorizing the mayor and director of finance to approve the amendment to the city's agreement with Civil Environmental Consultants, Inc. for the Hearn Park River Trail Stream Restoration Project Phase 2 to reflect the additional stream bank stabilization required, increasing the proposal amount by $182,669.18. Appropriating funds therefore, I move for passage of ordinance number 87-2023 as an emergency measure.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for passage of ordinance number 87, 2023 as an emergency measure. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries and ordinance 87, 2023 is enacted as an emergency measure. That brings us to agenda item 9, which has to do with the Erie Street, Monroe Street Roundabout and Resurfacing Project. Mr. Aller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, we had done a traffic study in 2019 that concluded that a roundabout would be the best option to improve level of service at that Monroe and Erie Street intersection. We did a supplemental study, gap study, to take a look at how such a roundabout would affect basically the Sleepy Hollow subdivision or the intersection at Old Post. And that study showed that it would provide sufficient gaps with the traffic to allow the Old Post to be able to make those left and right hand turns, and also recommended that a left turn, if you're heading westbound on Monroe Street, that a left turn lane be provided onto Old Post Road. So that is now included as part of the full project. In 2021, City Council here authorized us to apply for Surface Transportation Block grant funds for this project. The total cost is estimated to be at $4,028,132, and we were awarded the full amount of the SDBG grant at $2,861,950. We of course, we'll be looking for OPWC funds when the timing is right to do so in that cycle. So, at this stage, we're asking for authorization to advertise for letters of interest from consultants. Then, once we receive those letters of interest, we'll select a firm based on criteria that we have in ranking firms. And then, once we select that firm, we'll sit down and negotiate fees with them. One of the first things that will take place once we get that consultant on board is the public information process that you've seen on other projects that we've had, Monroe, Silica, Monroe interchange. And that will have a public open house either here or at the school or something of that nature, and start the information and education process of what this project will be. So
What is your construction schedule to begin, expected to begin work?
this project is scheduled for 2027. So we have 4 years from today that will actually be in construction for that intersection.
This intersection affects a lot of traffic. The President of Council has already asked questions about it. It is a bow tie solution. I don't know whether council's reviewed that or not. It's not just a roundabout, it's a two-phase roundabout to incorporate roads coming in east and west of the intersection. Seems to work pretty well. And those of you that were here early enough to listen to the scouts' questions, one of the scouts even had questions about this project. So the word is out that we're talking about this one, and be prepared for questions because we're already getting it.
We're ready.
Okay, what I need tonight is authorization to request additional funding assistance, to get letters of interest for engineering consultants, excuse me. Mr. Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would move to authorize the administration to begin letters of interest solicitation for the Erie Street and Monroe Street roundabout and resurfacing project.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aller. We're now up to agenda item 10, which is committee reports. We have 2 added items. Added item 10A is to schedule a finance committee meeting. Mr. Fry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As council may remember, there were some questions a few months ago about investment policy for the city. And I know that I've been working with the administration in that area. And I think we're to the point now where it makes sense to schedule a finance committee meeting to review that document. And I was thinking about, and I'm not sure what your thought process is on your committee meeting or not, Doug, but I was thinking about doing it prior to the next council meeting, which would be November the 6th.
3 weeks from tonight, yes.
Yeah, we can do that. Now, there's, Toby, in the budget email you sent out, you did attach the old finance policy, right?
No, that was the debt policy, not the investment policy.
So that was the debt policy?
Yeah, that's a separate policy.
Okay,
And I attached that because you guys had asked to review that each budget cycle. So that's why I included it in the budget process.
so the finance policy was adopted
In 21.
in
The
21.
investment policy it's been quite some time since we've made modifications to that. And Toby, I know, has worked diligently with Mrs. Brining to try to come up with some changes. Nothing dramatic.
You're changing which policy?
The investment
The
policy,
investment.
not the debt policy, but the investment policy. So,
November 6th sounds fine with me.
yeah, I know that, Mr. Schroyer, can you send that document out, or have Mrs. Brining, or somebody can send that document out so council can get prepared for the meeting?
Yes, of course.
I would propose to set a meeting for that on, at 6:30 on the 6th. Does that work for everybody? Yes? So I'll make a motion to set a finance committee meeting for the purposes of reviewing potential modifications to the investment policy for 6:30 on Monday, November the 6th.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and the clerk is instructed to advertise and post that meeting.
Just to clarify, that's here.
Maybe you want to meet here?
In council chambers, yes.
Okay.
As long as there's, could you circulate all the policies? So we have them in one place, the investment, the debt, and the new.
Sure, do you want to wait till after it gets approved, or what do you
Oh,
guys?
Well, actually, I'd like to look at it before we consider the changes.
Oh, yeah, I'll definitely get that to you, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But I think, Mr. Shore, what Mr. Hanem's asking is all the policies that we've got regarding financial matters.
Right.
Correct?
Right, and there are three of them,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sure,
just so I can see how they line up.
yep.
I know I have them all in, I have a file called Finance. I know they're all in there. But now that I'm doing everything electronically, it's different.
As a reminder, there is a finance committee meeting this Thursday
Thursday.
morning at
Right.
8 a.m. for the 2024 budget. Okay, added in agenda item 10B, Mr. Hanem.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I shared with council, with some of the administration, a complaint that I received from Jim Sauter, I don't know, I've called other people as well, about the scheduling of the Fall Festival Parade, and at the end of the day, I think it was not so much that he was particularly distressed that he didn't know about this in advance. And one of the things he wanted to, he wanted to have the opportunity to be heard about the impact of the parade on the Operation Store in light of the construction in downtown, which, sounds reasonable that he wanted to be heard. What I'd like to do is schedule a zoning and annexation committee meeting to talk about how we can, I know we issue permits for parades and for shutting things down, just how we can be a little more open and transparent about those activities in advance of doing them. I know we're certainly not going to have, do any, when we have to do maintenance and road construction, we're gonna do that, and that's that. Maybe when we have a parade, maybe it's something we could at least share with our business community in advance and hear if they have concerns. What I expect is we won't hear much or anything most of the time. This is an unusual situation in which, because of the construction on Monroe Street, ingress and egress to Jim's shopping center or grocery store, he felt was going to be severely adversely affected. So I don't know how, I haven't talked with him since, but Jim's a good neighbor, and I want to give him an opportunity to share
That
his thoughts
seems
with
reasonable
us.
to me, Mr. Hanem. The administration, I in particular, worked diligently with him to help the situation out.
And he reported that to me.
It just did not meet safety necessities to reroute the parade on its normal route in front of City Hall. Although the parade itself, there was enough pavement, there were no sidewalks on either side, and it just wasn't going to be a safe situation. And we did reverse flow on Monroe Street. Right now, and last Saturday, it was eastbound. During the parade, we turned it westbound so that people would not be trapped in his store
Good.
with Main Street out of, but that was not enough. He wanted more. And he was disturbed with the way the Chamber of Commerce announced it to him. That's a big part of
Yeah.
it.
Well, we don't have any control over that, but we do.
We do sign the permits.
Well, we do sign the permits, yeah.
Okay. It wasn't last minute, it was more than a week in advance, but as far as he was concerned, that was not enough time, because he couldn't change the outcome.
Yeah, I understand. So I don't think there's a rush to do this. We could do it earlier on November 6th, or for that matter, we could kick it to November, I assume that's November 20th.
It is, yes, that's correct.
I would be fine with the 20th if.
All right,
if
let's
you're okay
do,
with
let's, I move then that we schedule a zoning and annexation committee meeting for November 20th at 6:45
Okay. In this room,
here, yeah.
Second.
been moved and seconded to schedule a zoning and annexation committee meeting in this room on Monday, November 20th at 6:45 to discuss parade routing and permits. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries, and the clerk is instructed to advertise and post that committee meeting as well. Are there any other committee reports to be made at this time? Are there any committee referrals?
Mr. Mayor, I have something I'd like
Mrs.
to share
Westphal.
with the group.
Certainly.
I want to make sure that council members and administration are aware of the Woodland Lane Cemetery event at Centennial Terrace. This is a Halloween event, and I don't know if you've heard about it. It's being put together through Sage Yard, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and would hate for you not to be aware. It's only going to be 2 weekends, next weekend, the 20th, 21st, 22nd, and then the 27th, 28th, 29th, and then Monday the 30th. And they have quite an elaborate display, as I understand it, that they've set up throughout Centennial. Apparently a family who lived on Woodland was moving out of town, and they've done this for many, many years. And so they reached out to Sage Yard and to see if we would be interested in purchasing it and setting it up, and they're doing that. So they're gonna have pumpkin carving contests, and they're gonna have all kinds of pumpkin brews and contests
And
for.
lots of skeletons. That's what was about on
Never
Woodland
saw it.
Avenue.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
I
and it
love that
was
everybody knows. I
massive.
had no idea what this was.
Oh, it was a
Oh.
popular thing.
It was
no doubt.
massive.
And the family who moved away actually came back to help set it up. I haven't seen it yet, but I just wanted you to know that it's happening. If you've got family or kids or anything, I think it's gonna be a fun place to be. And you can certainly go to the Sage Yard website to find the hours and to find the details. But would hate to have us come back at the next meeting and not have you be aware that this fun event in our community is happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements or committee business? Hearing none, the only informational items you have are the meeting minutes from the Board of Architectural Review and the Municipal Planning Commission from our meeting last week on October 11th. If there's no further business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and this council stands adjourned until our next regularly scheduled meeting on Monday, November the 6th at 7:30 PM. That's 3 weeks from tonight. Thank you all for attending.